The Big House is one of Melee's longest running tournament series that has grown to become lauded as one of the most prestigious events every single year. With the slight decline in larger events this year, such as No Evo or a second Summit event, the Big House 9 is of even greater importance. It may very well be the last major event we'll see for this season of Melee, and certainly the last event stacked with enough talent to be considered a super major. So to get you prepared for this weekend, let's cover the players and storylines you should be looking out for this weekend in Michigan. And just like with Main Stage, I'll be hosting a Day 2 pregame and recap show and a Day 3 pregame show over on Twitch this weekend. Keeping track of all these times can be a little difficult, so just follow me over at twitch.tv/SaveAsUntitled to make sure you don't miss out on these streams. So with all that squared away, let's start this video by talking about Mewtwo long-awaited return to Melee singles before we dive into the whole projected bracket. Once M2K plays his first pools match, he'll be breaking his 244-day streak of not competing in a Melee singles event that goes all the way back to Genesis 6 in February. For those of you who may have forgotten, Mewtwo put up an absolutely abysmal performance for someone who had just been ranked 6th best in the world by finishing 33rd, losing to Triff and Bananas. There will for sure be some rust for Jason for how long of a break he has taken to focus on other projects. But his Melee doubles performances with Plup, which include a first at Shine and Pound, for sure should alleviate some of the concerns of Mewtwo fans. But let's move on to something more tangible by taking a look at Mewtwo projected bracket, which looks incredible for him. The reason for this positive outlook for Mewtwo is the long line of Spacies players he's projected to face off with, which should just be muscle memory for his Marth to 0 to death. This line begins with Rick, 82nd ranked Falco main from Indiana. This set will serve as a great litmus test for how we can expect Mewtwo tournament to go. If he ends up dropping a game or two here, my hopes for a deep run for the King would be greatly diminished. But if we see the surgical and methodical punish game we're used to from Mewtwo, the Big House could get very interesting. Next on the warpath is the winner of the set between Frenzy, the UK Falco, and Mike Hayes, which is a set that could easily go either way. But Mewtwo demolished both of these players 3-0 in 2018, both at SmashCon, so again, if he's playing anywhere near his potential, this should be a quick set that should help prep him for the projected set I'm easily the most hype about at the Big House, IBDW versus Mewtwo. Old school versus new school, most likely in a Fox Mars set, one of Melee's classics. The pair did meet last year at Smash and Splash 4, where Mewtwo won in a convincing 3-1 set, but that was 34th ranked Cody. This weekend Mewtwo will be face to face with a top 10 player IBDW, an IBDW that has beaten Hungrybox, Levin, and Mango, a player who is easily one of Melee's best right now. If this set happens, either result sends a message. With a win from IBDW, we get yet another reminder that the era of the gods, or a clear top 6, or of only a small oligarchy of players being able to win major events is long gone. We're living in the helter-skelter era of Melee where the Uncle Punch fiends rule our game. But if Mewtwo wins, we'll be reminded that although the gods may not have as strong as a grip as they once did, they earned their titles for a reason. And that players like Armada and PPMD never really lose their touch completely, and all they need is a little time to push off the dust, and they'll be right back to putting endless hordes of top 50 players in the dust. But only time will tell how the set will turn out. If the King stays King, he'll be meeting Hungrybox in winter semis. And in case you forgot, the last time this pair met in a second set at SmashCon in 2018, Mewtwo was actually the one who walked away the victor. This, however, was a Hungrybox who was playing uncharacteristically poorly and who had won the last 6 sets against Mewtwo. So with all of that in mind, and seeing as that it'll be a huge gear shift to go from Spacey after Spacey into playing Jigglypuff, here is where Mewtwo's dream run potentially ends on winner's side. His prospects and losers really depends on who he runs into, but I don't think anyone would be too shocked to see a 13th, 9th, or even 7th place or better from Mewtwo. But then on the flip side, I don't think him losing to Mike Hayes and being eliminated super early in losers is too far out of the question either. Nonetheless, an interesting question has been posed to Mewtwo at the Big House 9 after him being absent from Melee singles for so long, and I'm extremely excited to see how the King answers it. But with the lead story of the Big House 9 out of the way, let's jump into round 1 of winners bracket. Starting off the bracket, we've got Zamu, the Illinois Fox, who's picked up wins over Triff, Hax, and Slock so far this year, faced with the unfortunate task of having to play against HBox. We can for sure expect Melee's current 79th best to pick up some wins on loser's side, but stealing a W here against HBox feels like too tall of an order for Zamu at the moment. In this day and age, you've always got to keep in mind Hax's flaky history at events, alongside his tremendously high highs and low lows when discussing his projected path at an event. event. This sporadic attendance makes it no surprise that the pair haven't met in the last 2 years, giving us little to go off of for these two. So with Nunn's recent return to form and all this uncertainty coming from Hax's end, especially with potentially lingering effects from his hand injury that caused him to drop out of main stage, I think we can expect Nunn to advance on the face Hungrybox. IBDW versus Kalamazoo is another one that's fairly difficult to predict with the lack of highly active high-level Peach mains to give us reference points. But with how close IBDW was able to keep it against Triff at Summit, he should be able to walk away the victor from this set as long as he's able to shake off the cloud that was hanging above him at main stage. Zane has shown his proficiency again and again at the Marth Ditto this year, like most recently when he 3-0'd Pew Pew in winter semis at main stage, so Jake and Chicken shouldn't be causing him too much trouble here at the big house. With wobbling being banned at this event, it seems quite unlikely that we'll see Bananas make anywhere near a comparable run to his 5th place finish at the last entry in the series. This is especially the case seeing as he's got to get past Ginger, who recently kept his composure against Chudet, beating him 3-1 at main stage where wobbling was allowed. Bananas has been lauded by some to be one of the best ices without wobbling, so let's see if he can live up to that title in losers, or at the very least by not losing to Kage in the match before this one. Plup and Rishi last faced off in Summit Pools in 2018 where Plup won the set 3-1. And although both players' focuses have slightly shifted over to Ultimate in the time since then, I think we can expect a similar result when they meet here at the big house. Zane has had a fairly solid 2019 and pulling off an upset over SFAT is well within the realm of possibility for him, but their singular meeting at Smash and Splash this year went 3-1 in SFAT's favor, so he's the easy favorite to continue on the face-off with Plup. Levin vs Tai was a match we were expected to see at main stage before Levin dropped out of Melee at the event, but the same holds true here. Levin is the overwhelming favorite to advance on in the bracket and knock Tai's Marth down to fight in losers. Unfortunately for CLG fans, Pew Pew tweeted out that he'll be dropping out of the event this weekend because he's feeling under the weather. This means that we'll be having either the real thing, an Ohio Falco player, or Baka Formoa's Peach facing off with Lucky here instead. Pew Pew was for sure a scary draw for Lucky even with how hot he was playing at main stage, but now he should be able to fairly easily advance on to the next round in bracket against whoever he's going to face. If Hugs is able to make it this far in bracket to meet up with Esther Jay, the Falcon will almost certainly take the set with how tough the Samus Falcon matchup can be, like he did at Smash Camp just a few weeks ago. So instead, let's take a quick detour to indulge in one of my favorite 2019 activities, talking about Hugs. Hugo had the weirdest results I think I've ever seen at main stage. He grabbed some incredible wins at the event, beating Mike Hayes, Meds, and IBDW, but also lost to Azel, Mr. 100 on the last ranking, and Franz, a Dr. Mario player. I don't even know if this should be considered a good or a bad event for the Samus. So hopefully we'll get a tiny bit of clarification on what's going on with Hugs in the play-in set for this match between La Luna and Hugs, which is another player that has taken a sharp decline this year, who also beat Hugs earlier this year at NYXL. We haven't seen much of Swedish or Shroom this year, so it's no surprise we don't have a recent set to compare this to. The last time they met was actually back at EVO 2017 on loser's side, where Swedish knocked Shroom out of the event in a Game 3 set. Before that was a set at Smash Rivalries, also in 2017, where Swedish again knocked Shroom out of the event in a last game set. So this information plus Shroom dropping a set to Billy Bo Peep at main stage leads me to believe that Swedish Delight will win the battle of inactive players to advance on in bracket. And speaking of inactive players, we've got Wizzrobe facing off with Magi next on the docket. Although Falco has always been considered a troubling matchup for Falcon players, the skill gap appears to be too high between the pair, as Wizzrobe won 3-0 the last time they met at CO. But of all the players in the skill and seed range, Wizzrobe is probably the best draw for Magi, so I hope we get to see her take at least a game this time, and hopefully more. Having both a Wizzrobe and Mango win this year would be nuts, but is super unlikely. Fiction vs KJH is surprisingly one of the few Fox Dittos we're projected to see at the big house this weekend. Fiction was able to take out IBDW at main stage and double eliminated KJH during King early in May, so we should be expecting Fiction to move on and face off with Wizzrobe. Although Mango had a close call against Swedish Delight Sheik recently at Gamal, I wouldn't expect the same against Dreffen, who he met most recently at Low Tier City 6 in 2018, where he won the set 3-1. And finishing off round 1, we've got Moki's Fox facing off against Albert's Falco. Although Spacey's matchups have often been where we see upsets, with Albert dropping sets to Hax and German Fox Nikki at Shine, we'll most likely be seeing Moki continue on into round 2 on winner's side this weekend. Starting off round 2, we have Nun or Hax projected to face off with Hungrybox. Nun has already met the Puff 4 times this year and has only managed to take a single game across those 4 sets. And Hax hasn't seen HBox since Smash Valley 7 in 2018 where he got swept by the Puff, so it looks like a clean road to winners semis for HBox. Zane vs Ginger is a fairly recent rematch from Smash Camp where Zane swept the Falco 3-0, showing that Zane had cleaned up his act from the script 2 where Ginger was able to bring the set down to game 5. So this set remains largely in Zane's favor, but it'll be interesting to see how the matchup evolves from the last set, as both of these players are huge students of the game. Plup facing off against SFAT is the first stop on his redemption tour that he's projected to get here at the Big House. Plup lost to both SFAT and Moki at his only really incredibly underwhelming performance of 2019 at Gommel. It's important to note that Plup elected to play a Fox Ditto for both of those sets instead of bringing out his signature Sheik or even his Samus for the sets. But if he does choose to play Sheik like he did recently at Shine before he DQ'd out at 17th, he's the huge favorite to win and even up his record against SFAT 1-1 for the year. But if we do see Fox, Samus, or Plup dropping out of the event, we could see SFAT get another shot to end his double-digit losing streak against Zane. Although Lucky was looking incredible on his main stage run, which included wins over Mango and Nun, he's still down 6-0 against Levin across the last 4 years, which includes a 3-0 sweep at Shine when Levin wasn't playing his best. So Lucky's a long shot to take this set, but with how hectic Fox Dittos can get, I wouldn't be surprised if we see him take a game or two. Esther Jay vs Swedish is another exciting matchup that it's hard to tell which way it'll go. The pair split sets 1-1 in both 2018 and 2017. Esther Jay won their last set to take first at Don't Park on the Grass right at the end of 2018. Swedish won the other set in 2018, conveniently at the Big House 8. Esther Jay's 3-3 on the year with Captain Face Roll, Swedish's closest Sheik analog, and Swedish hasn't played Nun or Gatsu this year, so we don't quite have a comparison point for him. So all signs point to us having absolutely no clue how this one will turn out, so place your bets down in the comments on who you think is going to win this one. Wizzrobe's overarching story here at Mainstage is going to be about setting the record straight on the questions that still exist next to his name against certain players and in certain matchups because of his minimal activity. Here against Fiction, we'll get round 1 of this. The pair actually met last year at the Big House 8, where Fiction finally started hitting his stride for the year and swept the top 10 Falcon 3-0. Wizzrobe has shown domination against other Foxes this year, being up 2-0 on Levin and IBDW and up 1-0 on SFAT and Moki, so a win over Shep should make it clear that Fox is not a concern for the Falcon main. And although the 3 top Falcons play very differently, Fiction being 2-2 with Esther Jay and 4-2 against Nun for the year really makes me think that he's got a real shot of crippling Wizzrobe's chances for taking home a Big House title. On paper, Moki vs Mango should largely be in Mango's favor. Moki got swept by Ginger at Summit and barely was able to beat West Balls at the Mango this year, so Mango's Falco should be hypothetically too much for Moki. But Mango's last month or so of Melee has been packed to the brim with upsets, with Army and Lucky being the most recent additions to the list. So a loss to Moki here really doesn't feel too far out of the realm of possibility. Both of these players have a shot of making a run too, with Wizzrobe and Levin being the 2 next players in the projected path, so keep your eyes out on this match as well, because its results will also have huge ripples on who has a good shot of winning the tournament. And with that, we move in the quarterfinals with HFox facing off with IBDW or Mewtwo. We've already discussed earlier how grim Mewtwo chances look against the Puff, but what about Cody? IBDW is 1-2 in sets against HBox this year, and proving that you can take a set off of Hungrybox on his road to a 3rd year in a row of being Melee's #1 player is for sure great to see. But Hungrybox is a combined 16-2 against top 50 Foxes not named Levin, who seems to be the only Fox to crack the code against him. So the chances for Cody to even up the record against HBox for the year seems possible, but not likely. Our second match of winners quarters will see Zane meeting up with the winner of Plup vs SFAT, so let's touch on both possibilities. Despite Plup's struggles against other players around Zane's level of play across the last 2 years, he's been pretty consistent against the Marth, being up 6-2 against him. These 2 losses came at Summit 6 and Summit 8, a tournament series that Plup is consistently underperformed at. So as unintuitive as it may seem based on the general perception of these 2 players this year, Plup is the favorite to beat Zane if he makes it to this point in bracket. And everyone knows that Zane vs SFAT has been miserable for the Fox across the last couple of years, with Zane being up an incredible 15-0 in Marth Fox sets in just the last 2 years. But SFAT has been slowly chipping away at the matchup, bringing it to Game 5 and losing by 2 stocks at their second to last set at Smash and Splash, and taking it all the way to last game last stock in their most recent set at Low Tier City 7. So it's not likely, but maybe we could see SFAT finally breaking his win drought against Zane that goes all the way back to DreamHack Denver in 2017. Levin has historically dominated both Esther Jay and Swedish Delight, so whoever wins that potentially tight set will be swiftly sent down in the losers bracket by this fox. And for the last match of winter semis, we got 4 potential matchups with Wizzrobe or Fiction facing off against Mango or Moki. So let's briefly touch on all 4, talking about the most to least likely. We'll most likely be seeing Wizzrobe and Mango both hold seed and meet to finally face off for the first time in 2019. Mango versus Wizzrobe has been a significant point of contention for many putting together ranks for this year, as although Wizzrobe has shown a significant jump in skill this year, Mango was 4-0 against the Falcon main in 2018 and is 16-0 against Wizzrobe since 2014. So do I think Wizzrobe has the potential to win this? Absolutely. But this overwhelming wealth of historical data says that it'll be a huge uphill fight. But no one knows for sure. So I really hope we get to see this set actually happen in the big house so we can finally put this debate to rest. Fiction Mango is probably the next most likely set we'll see here. And if Mango is playing well enough to knock Moki's Fox down on the losers, he most likely won't have any issues taking care of Fiction. Wizzrobe versus Moki is essentially the flip side of this, as if Wizzrobe is able to hold his own against Fiction, he should be able to 3-1 Moki again like he did at Gommel earlier this year. And last and least likely would be the double upset causing Fiction and Moki to be fighting for a spot to face off against Levin. The pair only met at Shine this year, with Moki winning in a set that went the distance, so if both of them are playing well enough to pull off these huge upsets, we can expect quite an exciting Fox Ditto. And that brings us all the way to winner's semis, where there are so many permutations of who could be meeting up at this point in the bracket, that instead we're going to be talking about who has the best shot of being crowned the Big House 9 champ. So let's talk about our candidates, starting with the most likely down to the least likely. To no one's surprise and to many chagrin, HBox has the best shot at bolstering his 2019 resume even further with a win at the Big House 9. Both of his biggest threats, Levin and Wizzrobe, not only have to shake off the rust from not competing for a while and have some scary projected matchups, they're both on the other side of the bracket. However, the Big House 9 is the least secure I've been about Hungrybox being the expected winner in quite a while, thanks to Levin's decimation of him at SmashCon. If Levin's able to beat Wizzrobe or Mango in winter semis, who he's 0-2 and 1-1 respectively against for the year, HBox should be very scared. But with Hungrybox being the favorite against everyone who can be thrown at him on his side of the bracket, and being the favorite or having a pretty good shot at beating everyone who could meet him in winners finals, he's your safest bet to win. So with that in mind, it should come as no surprise that Levin has the second best shot of winning the Big House. This is because of his generally clean path to make the HBox, as well as having the best chance to take a set from him. The real crux of his run is that winner semi set. Both Wizzrobe and Mango are players that have beaten him this year, which makes his ticket to winners finals much less certain than HBox's. But if he does make it there, he's the best shot at stopping Hungrybox's Big House 3-peat and grabbing his first Big House title. It's weird to say that Mango is the third best chance of winning a Big House title with how he's been slumping lately, but this is one of the best brackets he's gotten to make a run in quite a while. He's a big favorite against Moki and Wizzrobe, and he's 4-4 against Levin across the last 2 years, which is the best spread he's got against the kind of player he would be meeting in winter semis. He's in a likelihood tier below the first 2 players mentioned, mainly because he's 1-3 on Hungrybox for the year. And with how unlikely it is for HBox to be upset on his side, he's almost certainly going to have to beat HBox to win the Big House, which is a pretty tough ask for Mango. Wizzrobe's ability and ranking on this probability list depends on one thing: do you think he can beat Mango? With how polarized the Falco-Falcon matchup is at this level, I think it's going to be exceptionally difficult for Wizzrobe to pull it off. But if you're someone who thinks Wizzy is favored or that Mango won't make it to meet him in bracket, he's an easy choice for the second most likely to win the event with his favorable record against Levin and HBox. So needless to say, the results of Wizzrobe versus Mango are going to have enormous effects on how the Big House 9 plays out. Lastly, Zane and Plub have a non-zero chance at winning the event, but they need the stars to align to do it. Zane's is a bit more likely, as it would involve beating Plub in quarters, beating HBox in semis, beating Mango in winners finals, and hope for no one scary coming out of loser's side of grands. Plub's would be a bit more difficult because it would most likely involve him beating Hungrybox, which he hasn't done in the last 11 times they met, and then winning winners finals on top of that against one of the unfavorable players he would meet. And that about wraps up this preview for the Big House 9. Let me know down in the comments which of the projected sets that we talked about that you're most excited to see, as well as who you think is going to take home the gold this weekend. Another reminder that we'll be doing a preview show on Saturday and Sunday morning at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6:30 Pacific, and a post-game show on Saturday night at around 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, and trying to slip into discussion as well right before Top 8 on Sunday. So be sure to follow me over at twitch.tv/SaveAsUntitled, link down in the description. And that about does it for me. I've been SaveAsUntitled, and I will see you guys next time.